Hello. We're here again. Another exciting fairy tale chapter. I guess we'll get the big one out of the way. So apparently now Zeref is the emperor of Alvarez. Wow. I read it and literally, like, you see his little shadow keeps like walking up and they're like, oh, the emperor has arrived after 1 year. And his little shadow, I could see like his little like tuft of hair that he always like, little thing that sticks up, and I was like, oh my god, it's Zeref. And then the next panel, it's fucking Zeref. I'm not surprised, but this means that this could be the final arc of Fairy Tail. I'm hoping. I don't know. I don't really know what Mashima would plan to do after Zeref. He seems like endgame status. So, I'm hoping that the end of this arc will conclude the whole battle with Zeref, and also the conclusion of Natsu being End and finding out that he's Zeref's brother and all that good stuff. The beginning of the chapter is Fairy Tail, the Fairy Tail group rescuing the citizens that are drowning from branches shrinking of the island, and they're all on like these boats, these fishing boats that were apparently nearby. Gray says that so happens that they were there, so they're lucky. So they're rescuing the citizens, and Natsu and Wendy are both seasick. And there's this one little shot where Lucy and Gray are talking, and there's this old man that's like in like the very corner next to Lucy, and he's like looking at her butt, like he's just like he's just found like one piece. And so Erza seems to have figured out what Brandish's power is. She thinks, oh, she can shrink or grow mass to her will, and she seems to be very good at it. So we have that, and then we find out that the kid that was lost found her dad, and Mest is still injured, but then in one panel he's like dying on the ground, it looks like, and then in the next panel he's like standing up and he looks completely fine. So then he teleports them to underwater, where he says that they're gonna meet the spy that was there, and which is pretty interesting. And then it looks kind of like a little temple underwater, under Caracol, where Caracol was, and the spy that they were supposed to meet turns out to be Angel, from the past, I forgot which arc it was, but she was pretty bad. That's all I remember. And apparently she's okay now, and Lucy seemed to be whatever about her, because she's helping them now. And she said that she owes Mest a favor. I'm wondering what that could have been. I don't know. So he teleports them there, and they meet her, and she says that they're going to where Makarov is, because she knows where Makarov is. I'm also wondering if she was supposed to be there the whole time, and why they didn't just teleport there instead of going to the actual island in the first place. I don't know. Did Mest know that she was supposed to be underground? He seemed to know like the whole time, so I don't know. Unless he like went off to find her, and then he found her and then was like, oh fuck, we need to meet somewhere else. I don't know. Otherwise, a lot of this could have been avoided if he was just like, oh, I know exactly where we're supposed to meet, just, I'll teleport us. Sometimes I forget NASA's teleportation powers should make it a lot easier to do things, but it doesn't, for whatever reason. Then the little like temple thing that's underground becomes like some sort of like ship thing submarine thing that's underwater. It looks like that. It turns into like, it transforms. It's like a transformer, and then it has like a gun. It looks like, I don't really know. And then it just sort of like blasts off like Team Rocket into the water. Ding. And then they just sort of leave, and then they're on their way to get Makarov, I guess. And then it goes to where Makarov is. He's playing cards with some old dude, some old guy that's just like him, I guess. And it's funny because in the manga stream translation, it's just like they're playing with some Alvarez cards. Like, okay. And then so they're playing some game and they're talking about how the Emperor was nice enough to house Makarov, I guess, this whole time that he's been there, to negotiate with the old man that he's talking to. So he's supposed to be negotiating with him, but I guess he's also been waiting, which I don't know what has he been doing the whole time that he's been there for like a whole year, or however long it's been since he's been there. Apparently he's fine. He looks fine. He looks scruffy, a little more scruffy than he used to. He looks like he has more hair on his face than he ever had on his head. So there's that. And I guess he's been there just negotiating with that guy. They don't seem to have been talking about the fate of Ishgar. I don't know. The old man seemed pretty nice to Makarov, saying, "Oh, our king or our emperor really wants to stay on good terms with Ishgar, so he should have no problem negotiating." And then he said that he's hardly ever at his castle, or on Alvarez, I guess, or wherever they're at. And then we find out why, because it's fucking Zeref. What I'm wondering is that, has he always been Emperor of Alvarez, or did that just come to be sometime within the fairy tale story, the plot line? Because, I mean, in the beginning of Fairy Tail, when we're first introduced to him, he didn't seem like he would be an emperor of an entire country. He seemed very secluded, and then all of a sudden he didn't want to be around people ever, so all of a sudden he's an emperor, unless it was like the old man said that he just likes to not be around his kingdom very much ever, and he's just always wandering around being a loner. Like, what does he do? That's what I'm just so curious. Like, what does he ever do? He just like walks around and like sulks. I don't know. It's all we've ever seen him doing. I mean, and then he's all talk. Like, I want to see him in action. I mean, I'm sure we'll eventually see him in action. Hopefully, I don't know. I still don't really know what his objective is. He's the emperor, and they're out to destroy Fairy Tail, apparently. Like, his objective, I guess, is to destroy everything, but at the same time he wants to die. He wants to be defeated, so by Natsu of all people, because he created Natsu to defeat him, but I guess he's under that curse where he just destroys everything, so that's his objective, is to destroy everything, because if he wanted to keep everything alive, then he would destroy everything himself. I'm still kind of iffy on those terms that he was cursed upon. So we have that, and Makarov sees Zeref, and he's like, oh fuck, it's Zeref. I'm also wondering, how the fuck does he know who Zeref is, or what he looks like? Maybe he's had a run-in with him sometime in the past. But what was interesting is right before Zeref arrives, the old man, they're playing cards, and he has a card of Mavis, and he says the key is to not let your goddess fall into enemy hands, and it's a little picture of Mavis on a card that he's playing. Makarov doesn't look that surprised. He sort of looks kind of indignant, like he's just kind of like, what are you playing at? But then Zeref arrives and they can't really talk about it much after that. But that could be a hint at Zeref maybe negotiating with Makarov about what his terms would be for surrender, I guess, or to not unleash the Spriggan 12 upon Ishgar, and instead would maybe make a trade or something, or decide to hold back and decide not to fight at all in exchange for Mavis, for Luma and his story. We still don't know what the hell it does. Still are in the dark about that, but obviously it's something very important because it holds Mavis's body. I haven't been keeping up with Fairy Tail Zero much, but there's a history between Mavis and Zeref that is pretty shrouded in mystery. We know that they were like friends, I guess, at one point, and then something happened, obviously. But I think it's interesting because I think they were friends when Zeref was still under his curse and stuff, so I don't know. I'm really interested in their relationship still. So I guess we'll find more about that. Maybe he wants to like resurrect her, Mavis, or maybe Luma and his story is just that, like it's just Mavis and she comes back to life, or maybe Makarov just didn't have the courage to bring her back to life. Maybe it's only on very, very specific terms that he can bring her back. And Zeref, for whatever reason, wants to bring her back and somehow manipulate her to be on his side, or I don't know. She's apparently like Fairy Tail's #1 strategist ever, or in probably the history of the world. I don't know. It doesn't say what the next chapter title will be. It says next issue, FT will grace the cover, Fairy Tail will grace, so I guess it's just going to be a whole guild picture of the cover page. So I don't know, I have no idea what the hell the next chapter is going to be. I'm looking at this again, and it looks like the townspeople are very happy to have Zeref as their emperor. They probably have no idea who the fuck he is, or maybe they do and they just worship him. Alvarez is just a whole continent of like Zeref worshippers. That'd be pretty bad. Who knows? I guess we'll find out. Finally, we'll have some sort of negotiations happening with Zeref and Makarov, and we'll see what happens next time in whatever the chapter title is gonna be. Something Fairy Tail on the cover. I don't know. Okay. Bye!